politics even roughly with me right now is sick to their stomach all of their time because of what's going on politically. I mean, this is enormously stressful on us all collectively, and we need to recognize that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am not okay. And I continue to utilize my, practice of medicine in whatever way I engage with that. But, like, at the beginning, I'm not okay, which kind of is against my better advice, is to not engage in psychedelic practice when you're not okay. But I'm like, okay enough, I guess. Or maybe I convince myself I am, but yeah, I mean, what are we doing? We're in crisis. How should we respond?
Rebel Elder John Cannon, do you want to throw your dulcet tones? You notice that I always use the phrase dulcet tones when I'm talking about you?
I love those dulcet tones.
Thank you. Hey, Daniel, everybody else. I guess James is on the plane. Is that correct?
Yeah, or just so unable to communicate that he just pulled himself out.
Right. What I regret when we're talking about RFK Jr. or anything to do with this administration is that so many institutions have been plagued by black and white thinking, and if anything's even remotely related to the Trump administrations, it's automatically bad or good, depending on what side of the divide. And I think of still some of the stuff coming out of the CDC and the FDA is very questionable. I mean, I don't think they've done anything to break the hold of big pharma on academia, on government agencies. And I'm not saying that they're entirely bad, but that structure is extremely faulty. I was reading, I've forgotten the source, so forgive me for that, but it was Elizabeth Warren coming out about, he's talking about measles and talking about vitamin A, just real disdainful, like she's a scientist. She's not, and she's subject to error. And I did read an article that what I could get out of it from the Oxford Journal of Medicine, suggesting that vitamin A is good in the treatment of measles. So it seems like there's a lot of sources, because I try to inform myself on both sides of the question, considering that there's so much division in the United States on so many issues, that vitamin A was recommended as a treatment for measles. And yet the legacy press all sort of at one attack Robert Kennedy as if he's all bad, he's always wrong, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's the influence of money on opinion making. So I just wanted to throw this out there, and also appreciate Daniel's, it seemed like a way to offer some kind of measurement for looking at what science is. As far as I'm concerned, science should always be questioned. I think that's the process of science itself and the development of trying to find more clarity.
Literally, by definition, it is asking questions.
See, it's a, leave your ego out of the room and try to be objective, and when you're not, be objective later. I didn't vet this information, but apparently those people that died of pneumonia or something in Texas actually died of mycoplasma pneumonia and didn't receive appropriate treatment for that, and that they're blaming all kinds of other things where actually, 5 out of the 5 were misdiagnosed and mistreated. And so, there's another wrinkle in time, just holding to, when you hold to a dogma and don't look at what's really there, as a physician, as a medical doctor, the result is death and mayhem. And so, every day when I approach a patient, I don't hold to a dogma, especially in a sick person. I just try to say, is all the pieces telling the right story? And if the right, so when I do my teaching, I also teach the young doctors, I say, all of the information has to fit together and tell a story. And if the story doesn't make sense to you, then you have to re-engage. And even when you re-engage, you have to be skeptical of your decisions too, and your diagnosis a lot of time. And so, the practice of medicine is a practice of uncertainty and objectivity. Otherwise, your patients die or worse.
What's worse than dying?
Being alive and suffering and uncomfortable like that, and not being able to have any agency to move forward from there. Yeah, so that's a little bit judgy on my side. I apologize for that. And being, losing your mind and being so afraid, we could name 1,000 different reasons for this, but there are some things that are not cool.
James, it's nice to see you back.
Probably is a background noise for a few minutes here, but I am back.
Well, you missed a spirited discussion on the study, on the microdosing study, and a general overview of what science is or should be and isn't, and so it's been a good.
Can you give us a PTR and a little recap, Jake?
Say again, James?
PTR and recap of the discussion really quickly.
Yeah, I cannot actually hear what you're saying. Can anyone make out what he's saying?
Nope.
You gonna butt? Hello, Lee.
I think he
Happy
said blah, blah, blah. Happy now.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And Daniel, and Michael, welcome. Even though you can't hear us, even though we can hear you garbled, welcome back and welcome home and welcome to your here. And everybody, happy now. Jordan, can you, I can't speak for everybody, but can you express to Mr. Fadiman that no, the deadheads thank you, Dr. Fadiman. I read that somewhere that he thanks the deadheads. And Daniel, that was beautiful and really prescient. And Gregory, you could do a book report for me anytime. And Rebel, I agree with you. And I just wanted to give everybody love and say back to you, James. Oh, also, by the way, this might matter or not with the ADHD, and coming from what Gregory said, that report's really not the be all and end all. But I don't know about microdosing and ADHD because I don't really have experience. Because while I'm still pretty forgetful, I pretty much I was, I was put on Ritalin when I was a kid. I was one of the original Rid kids in the 60s with adult doses, way too much Ritalin, because back then they said hyperactive. Anyway, I think I've pretty much curbed it because I finish a task and I go on to the other, although I'm forgetful. But that's yay. But just in general, I can imagine that the ADHD can be helped with a proper microdose regime. I'm pretty sure. But sorry, I just wanted to add that ADHD thing to the story. And thank you so much.
Have we tapped into the RFK situation a little bit more? Any thoughts on RFK's comments and things that are going on?
Anybody catch that?
Yeah, James wanted to hear a summary of what we were saying about RFK and his take on science and what that meant. Daniel gave a really good discussion of that.
And I said something about him basically being the equivalent of clickbait dogma. Because I'm judgmental.
With gold wing doors.
You wouldn't be so judgmental if a worm had eaten half of your brain.
It feels like a fighter jet. Obviously,
And I wouldn't be in office. I
You
would
can see with the cabin,
be doing something
the fans
appropriate
will move.
for my medical
The joystick
condition.
on the front, and up there, that's actually a snorkel. It's a front-facing camera, a rear-facing
Did
camera.
anybody catch the article in the Wall Street Journal? I think it was Xanax Nation.
You might not be expecting this.
Might have been the title. Certainly Xanax was the first word in the title of it. And it basically says, don't take Xanax or benzodiazepines, period. It was saying, because I'm doing a slow taper on Xanax, and I found opiates a lot easier to get off of than Xanax, because I've been taking it for so many years. It's the only prescription drug I use, which at age 76 is kind of unusual in itself. But anyway, this is for, I think this should be passed on to anybody, not to judge somebody that's taking Xanax, particularly if they're older and they have sleep problems. Yeah, it's a risk-benefit kind of evaluation. But it pretty much said that it can take up to a year to rebound from Xanax, and to take for older people that have been on it a long time should take at least a year, and their sleep may never rebound. There may be long-term effects of Xanax use. I mean, it's pretty horrendous. It's up there with yet another psychiatric drug that's been recommended for years. They find out is not only not efficacious, but to a large degree dangerous and not suggested for any kind of use. I think this is where Amanita muscaria, although there's a lot of misinformation out about that, as we all know, that it's all in the preparation, which I think Jordan pointed out lately, is even that needs to be studied a little bit more, but not in this climate of sort of politicalization of science.
Please don't scroll. I'm just trying to become a big content creator one day, but I have no supporters, so if
Thanks for bringing that article up, John. I posted it into the top of the thread if anybody
So if you
wants
have
to
a
chat
chance,
in and
please-
kind of read what they're talking about with that.
The trouble is, James, with it is it's behind a paywall.
So if you have the chance, please subscribe.
Not the one I posted. Check out the one from fortune.com that I just
Oh,
posted.
great, I will. Sure.
So if you have the chance, please.
one of the things that's really fascinating about Xanax and benzos in general
So if you
is
have,
the lack of discussion about their addictive nature, as we mentioned into the.
please don't scroll. I'm just trying to be.
Is that the dependency on them in order to get using them?
Please don't scroll.
For religious-minded people, this.
Please don't scroll.
Also, take your fill in will of love as you will. There is a word to say about the Hierophantine, delivered from the.
About black people and that black people were in the Democratic agitation. Okay.
Once I get off the plane here and move to a better place, I'll read this article if you guys want.
Oh, much better,
This
James.
is the hymn to Pan.
I'm not moving anymore. I'm not like floating around. I'm just deporting right now.
Please don't scroll. I'm just. Please don't scroll.
Do you guys think that with this article that
You know what makes me feel pain?
this trend might extend across other states, or do you think that this is isolated politically to conservative constituencies?
Well, I'm definitely afraid it will expand across other states. You know, once
Commission is the correct title of Key 1.
there's such a huge stigma against
Meditation on
psychedelics
Death.
of all kinds that you can expect it will expand. Did it actually
I
become
am
law in Florida, or is it just proposed? I had heard about it a few
On
days
this
ago.
account, too,
The past 3 days,
the sun,
I have some
the
friends
wasp,
that are there that actually
the
are running
supple,
their businesses.
the
So
fool.
they're honestly concerned about that.
Yeah, I know. Personally, know a person who has been running a lab in Florida for
Everybody, my
a
name is
decade
Sam,
and
aka
just
Sam
fully
Bucha. I'm a
located
YouTuber who
based
makes a
on
variety
this.
of content ranging from
Based on
challenges
his
to
assumption that
gaming
this would
to-
pass,
Well,
he
23rd
started
of October,
moving several months ago to Colorado. But they're not the only people. Like, I think Idaho, maybe even California has a spore issue that's ignored in most places. There's a couple other places where spores, because of their potential to produce a psychedelic, are on.
That's correct. It's California, Idaho, and Georgia, and now.
On the 23rd of October, I discovered
some of the-
something that's
I mean,
probably changed my life. It resulted in me
Forget
posting this
Idaho,
video
but
that went on to
Georgia
get
and Florida
4.5
are
million views.
two of the
Almost
best foraging places in the United States.
Yeah, and they all differ from state to state. Some is about transport, some is about actually treating the process that was referred to in this particular article, which is now they're being very specific. They're saying anything that can produce. So in prior language, it was about the actual production. So the use of spores in a microscopic format, in a scientific research format, was not illegal, but the production of entheogenic fungi using those
You know what
spores
makes me feel
was illegal. So Florida is the first state to really point it out to the point of saying, like, hey, if these can produce entheogenic mushrooms, then therefore they are now illegal as well. So they've gotten to the specifics of it at this point.
James, forgive my ignorance. Do you have a company that, quote air quotes, does microscopic research materials?
Yes, but there's a difference. I am in a decriminalized zone in the city of San Francisco. So in San Francisco proper, we're completely decriminalized from all of those activities, even the state legislation indicates.
And so,
that
what happens if you does your company ship spores to Idaho, Georgia, now Florida, and California?
No, I don't ship microscopy work without a prior connection. But the way that I do work is that I have a collective that falls under the legislative efforts here in California, and you're protected under the city legislative efforts by working under the framework that we use. So whereas like people are using their religious freedom model and things like that, and using churches in order to incite the ability to ship these things back and forth. We're working more on a collective level, a personal education level, and a personal knowledge level, which is more in line and more in relation to the different types of legislative efforts that have been put forward. So we're not trying to sell things. We're not trying to capitalize off it, but we are trying to build knowledge-based access through education.
Word. Heard that. And back to the original question about it, are we concerned about it spreading to the other states? I think there could potentially be like a divisive organization of states, but I think there are safe places that will not revert. Oregon and Colorado.
Tapeworms are. Have you heard of tapeworm?
Well, those are in your intestines or in your
Yes, you can get a tapeworm into you.
But they are not those. No, they are not those kinds of worms. The worms.
When the tapeworm.
The worms that eat the